I was thinking on the way here, why football? And then there's a couple of things here, right? There's mass emotion on a kind of tribal identity. Football's built on tribal identity, and I guess it becomes a sort of easy, loaded way if you're in a crowd and you don't think you can be spotted to attack the other when emotions are high. But then the other thing to think about is the fact that football mirrors society, and football authorities can influence behaviour, but they can't compensate for wider social failures.
Vassos comes in at around this time every day to talk sport, and actually it's depressing today, isn't it? But we'll get into it. A UEFA Ethics and Disciplinary Inspector has been appointed to investigate alleged racial abuse during last night's Champions League game between Benfica and Real Madrid. Now, the match was stopped for 10 minutes after Real's Vinicíus Júnior told the referee he'd been abused by Benfica's player Gianluca Prestiani. So Vassos, first of all, I didn't know these UEFA inspectors existed. Are they new?
No, there's been a sort of protocol here.
Right.
What happened was Prestiani, we don't know whether he said anything racist at all, of course, but what he did was cover his mouth with his shirt after Vinicíus scored a terrific goal and celebrated lavishly. And Vinicíus immediately went over to the referee, who crossed his arms over his head, which says, OK, there has been a report of racist abuse. The players briefly left the field. José Mourinho got involved, and therefore UEFA will investigate. This was only the first leg, by the way, so they will play each other again later this month.
Right.
And it's very, very charged now. It is, I actually started listening to the commentary during this sort of 10-minute hiatus between the goal being scored and the match being restarted. So, we don't know what's been said, but from the most read story on the Times Online to the second most read story currently on the Times Online, which is Matthew Syed writing about this, and he brings some sort of personal perspective. He says, "I'm not a racist. One of my best mates is Pakistani. I heard that trope when I reported a bloke who'd shouted the P word in my face in my third year at senior school. The culprit's excuse wasn't that he hadn't said it," writes Matthew, "but that it hadn't carried a pejorative meaning because, wait for it, he actually liked people from Pakistan."
Oh, right.
And so what we have here is what happened, or was alleged to have happened, on the field of play in Benfica last night. But then what José Mourinho said afterwards,
tell me,
which Matthew Syed says is actually worse.
Okay, for people who aren't sort of fully paid up sports anoraks, you better just, José Mourinho has been around the world of football, hasn't he? And he's certainly managed in the UK, in England.
Oh yeah, he's been Chelsea manager. Twice. He's been Tottenham manager. He's been Inter Milan manager. He's won the Champions League more often, I think, than any other manager. He's very, very successful. He has a. I remember when he came into the studio to be interviewed upstairs on Virgin Radio a few years ago. He just has this force of personality that sort of almost leaves you giddy when he leaves the room. And we've all said it. We sort of miss the José Mourinho press conferences because he's Hollywood and he's box office.
Right.
But then he was asked about this.
Yeah.
He was asked about this. And this is what José Mourinho said in his press conference afterwards. The people on TNT Sport were absolutely horrified, Thierry Henry among them. When Vinicíus, was arguing about racism, I told him that the biggest person in the history of this club, he means Eusebio, was black. And the last thing this club is racist. And so as Matthew Syed puts it, yeah, that's right. Benfica can't be racist, none of their players either, because you once had a black guy in the team in the 1960s. But then, says Matthew, it got worse. This is José Mourinho again. There is something wrong because it happens in every stadium. A stadium where Vinicíus plays, something always happens. And this is referring to the fact that Vinicíus has been in the centre of racist abuse a lot in the past. I mean, I made a list of them: 2022, 2023, 2024. At one point he said he feels less and less like playing because he's been just the subject of all this racist abuse in Spain. People were handed prison sentences in 2024 and 2025 for abusing him in stadiums. I mean, so for José Mourinho to say that...
I mean, the implication there is he shouldn't complain when it happens. But that's not the way we roll, is it? Why should he put up with it?
Well, that's the thing, and I'm just going to quote Matthew because he writes it so well,
Yeah.
Until now, there's been a clear, if implicit, consensus about racism. It's wrong, it's never justified, it's never the fault of the victim. Those in positions of responsibility have always condemned it unreservedly. This offered a potent and often impressive unity in the face of this scourge. No longer. We'll probably never know, writes Matthew, if Prestiani really abused Vinicíus, but we'll always know that Mourinho sought to excuse, condone or justify it. That's the thing. It's that reaction just felt very wrong.
Right, OK. He's never all that far from controversy, Mourinho, is he?
No, but this feels very far away from being banned from the stadium and smuggling himself in a laundry basket, which we all sort of found quite funny.
Yeah, I know he's one of the great entertainers of the footballing game, but at the same time, it's just, I think everybody's a bit sick of this sort of thing. So let's hope he learns, although I think it's highly unlikely. We should be talking about the goal. That's what's so sad about all this, isn't it?
It's a wonderful goal.
Yeah, just describe it.
Oh, he cut in from the left and just curled it beautifully. Sometimes you watch footballers do things and you think, never in a million years. You can give me 1,000, you can give me 10,000 attempts to do that and forget defenders being there, and I'd never be able to do that. And it looked like poetry, just cutting in and curling it inside the near post. Just wonderful. A goal worthy of winning the Champions League, let alone a Champions League last 16 knockout first leg.
Yes, I'm glad you've paid tribute to the goal because it's absolutely worth a look. But I suppose it's just another illustration that racism and football, racism is still an issue for the game. There's just no doubt about it.
Absolutely. I was thinking on the way here, why football? And then there's a couple of things here, right? There's mass emotion on a kind of tribal identity. Football's built on tribal identity, and I guess it becomes a sort of easy, loaded way if you're in a crowd and you don't think you can be spotted to attack the other when emotions are high. But then the other thing to think about is the fact that football mirrors society, and football authorities can influence behaviour, but they can't compensate for wider social failures.
Well, they can't, no. But it's still depressing, isn't it?
Just when you think, I love football, something like this happens and you think, football, stop it.
Vassos, I don't think there's a better way to end. I really don't. Thank you very much. Vassos Alexander, who talks sport on this programme every Monday to Thursday afternoon, around about 3:20. Always look forward to having him in the room because you burst with enthusiasm. Do you take vitamin D?
Do you know I don't, but it was sunny yesterday, so maybe I got some.
Maybe you got an injection of it, yes. Right? I don't know where you were. Or perhaps, was it sunny in London? I can't remember.
It was, yeah. Yesterday morning, it was just beautiful.
Was it?
Yeah.
Where was I? OK, thank you very much, Vassos.